Welcome into I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. This is our CFP second round preview. This is huge, Tyson. We are playing for semifinal spots. We are now off campus. We are at bowl games. I am going to be going to a bowl game, which we'll get into here coming up soon. But this is huge. We broke down what happened in the first round. People were pissed. Do you think it's lost its luster? Do you think people are still pumped up?
Dude, they don't care. It's been a whole week. It's been too long for you to still care. If you think that they're going to suck, you're going to trick yourself in your dumb brain into thinking that all these games are going to be awesome, and then you're going to be right about them sucking. If you thought it was going to be awesome, then this whole week's going to be awesome no matter what. So basically, there's a couple weeks left of college football. Suck it up and watch the games.
Especially when it gets to this, like we all talk about, like, whoa, this is what we care about, crowning the champion. So it's like when we get to this point, you can't have it both ways. Be like, this sucks.
I know, and then like people have the nerve to everybody talks smack on the college football or college basketball invitationals at the beginning of the season, like nonstop. Oh, the carrier don't like this doesn't matter. They're going to Hawaii, and it's this is the same thing. Like you can't get it in one preseason and then have the best postseason ever. It is what it is. Whatever.
Yeah, we already shredded apart the whole absolute toxic discourse around college football last week. And so we're going to look ahead. What we do, if this is your first time joining us, we are going to talk football. We're going to break down the games. We're going to talk about what we see, what we think is going to happen on the football front. And then at the end, we're going to do money making time. We're going to get some picks who we like. We picked all four winners last week. Who's going to advance? Oh, wow.
That's
All the favorites want to
disingenuous.
cover. So it was easy.
we picked the winners, and then we gave out the wrong bets and money making time a couple times.
So let's get into it. My team, Penn State, I will be since it's in my backyard, I'll be here at the Fiesta Bowl. Penn State taking on Boise State. Tyson's little nugget. Neither of these teams have ever lost the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, one of them's had more entertaining than the other ones, or at least ones that stick out of my head. I can't remember. I mean, you know better than me. Can you give me the last Penn State Fiesta Bowl?
I was there 2017, 2018. My senior year, Saquon Barkley's senior year, or junior year, I guess, technically. But it was fun. It was a good one. They blew out Washington. I still have the shirt. I'm hoping it's the same thing this time. That's for sure.
Well, it's a little different, but some of the faces may be different. The athletes and the archetypes are the same. Speed kills here. This is a game that Boise State is going to have to protect the edges for Matic Madsen and hopefully get Ashton Gentry rolling. But I think you have to be terrified of this Penn State pass rush if you're Boise State, because if they do get in a position where they have to throw the ball. Now, granted, this is the same conversation we might have had before the Oregon game. If Oregon makes them throw the ball, and they didn't have to because Ashton Gentry was the best player on the field that day, and he might be the best player on the field against Penn State. But I think that Abdul Carter all season long, and you and I have had discussions about it on the podcast and off the podcast. I'm now finally seeing him like creep up towards the top 5 in some of these mock drafts, and I don't know what took so long, but he is a name to watch here. And then the other part for the Boise State defense, and this sounds silly, and you might hate on me a little bit, but they have to make Drew Aller do all of it. Like he's got to be the guy that makes the engine go. You can't let Singleton and 𝐾𝐨 and these guys get rolling on the ground. You have to put the ball in Aller's hands. I think that's a losing proposition for Boise State, but that's the best bet at winning.
Yeah, I agree. Right? Because if Penn State's averaging over 5 yards a carry, like and they want to run the football, and Andy Kotelnicki already talked about these creative offenses. The base level of everything he does, and he's done at Buffalo, he's done at Kansas, now he's doing at Penn State. You have to be able to run the football because everything else plays off of that. This is not a good wide receiving unit. If you've been following college football, you know that's the discussion around Penn State. It's Tyler Warren, and that's really it. But when the running game is working, you will notice all of a sudden the wide receivers find themselves a little bit open. Why? Because it's one-on-one on the outside. The linebackers have to cheat up. There's a little bit more passing lane, a little bit more throwing lane. That's the secret. So Tyson, we'll keep going through this. I'll just throw this out kind of to back up your point here. Penn State offensively, they're 16th in EPA per rush, second in EPA per dropback. So they're good at both sides here. You would expect that. I think 𝐾𝐨, Nick Singleton, this is the best they've looked. This is the healthiest Singleton has been since the beginning of the season. This is the scariest rushing attack, two-headed monster left in the playoff. I know people love the Ohio State look. This is a better running back room, in my opinion. Boise State's defense, 36th in EPA per rush, 53rd in EPA per dropback. So I'm with you. Even though their defense on an EPA basis is poor, and that's where Penn State can potentially attack them, you prefer Drew Aller to make those throws if you can take out Warren, if you force the wide receivers to get open against you. Now, it's not the strength of Boise State. The middle of the field could be wide open. This could be a huge Tyler Warren game. But I'm with you. I think you got to make Drew Aller beat you. And Tyson, there's question marks about Penn State's offense again, even though they're coming off just an insane performance against Oregon, the number one team in the country. They scored all damn near 40 points, but it was below 20 degrees outside, and they didn't have to throw the football much to win. And everybody's like, well, I don't know about this offense anymore. That's the national narrative. They're back in a dome. They have the advantage in the trenches. I think we're going to see a little bit better offensive look for Penn State.
Yeah, they're super physical. This was a tough draw for Boise State, and I mean I wonder if they can take anything from the USC game. They're really the ones that kind of ripped Penn State up on the ground. Woody Marks and the gang, I think they ran for almost 200, but it's been a long time since the middle of October, and this Penn State defense has gotten better at mitigating some of those things. I know you don't want it to keep rolling. I would like to see Boise State keep winning football games, but I have a hard time seeing this one, even if I squint.
That's the thing, because 2 touchdowns and Genty sets the Mountain West record, and he's going for Barry Sanders' record. And we've been a Genty guy all year, and so it's tough for Penn State. Unfortunately, I think they're going to have to put him out of their misery. But Tyson, number 1 in EPA per rush for Boise State, 28th in EPA per dropback. So the running game gets all the credit, or gets all the attention, as they should. But this passing offense, the reason why the running games work is because Matson's been able to find a tight end, been able to find the receivers when they need to. They've been able to move the chains, get back to a favorable position on that running game. Penn State's defense, 6th in EPA per rush, 9th in EPA per dropback. Like, this pass rush all of a sudden has found its groove. Abdul Carter playing the best he's played all season. Interior trenches are dominating it for Penn State as well. Zane Durant's a beast. On the back end, it's a young, inexperienced group who keeps getting better. They're going to have to keep playing like it. Same with the linebackers. You can't miss tackles against Genty, because he'll rip those 5-yard gains into 75-yard touchdowns. So that's the battle here.
Yeah, and there's a lot of NFL scouts waiting with bated breath here just to watch him one more time against some of these high-level athletes.
I think for our prediction-wise, we go through a bracket. I think Penn State wins. They're going to be in the semifinals of the college football playoff.
I agree.
Texas, Arizona State, man, this is an interesting one on paper, right? Arizona State, we'll be Fugazi this, Fugazi that, and they just keep getting better and keep them getting better. And towards the end of the year, they are one of the best offensive teams, the defense that can play and travel. Texas, when they play, they look good, man. Like, it looks great. The ball's moving, the ball's flying, the running backs are going downhill, the defense is dominant. And yet at times, sometimes you look up, and it's been looking great, and the scoreboard doesn't reflect it. And you're like, what the hell happened? Because a couple missed throws here from Ewers, a couple turnover plays, big chunk. And that's the risk you run against this Arizona State team.
Yeah, I think that there's merits to both of these teams kind of being a little fugazi. I think that we didn't expect Arizona State to be here. It wasn't until like week 11 of the college football season where this even became like a possible reality for them, but they've overcome every doubt along the way. 𝐃𝐨𝐬, he believes he's the best running back in the country, and it's like, yeah, Genty had an amazing season, but if 𝐃𝐨𝐬 wants to believe that, he's been pretty damn good himself. Texas is an awesome rush defense. I think 𝐃𝐨𝐬 is a better running back than anybody they've seen in the SEC this season, and they've seen some big names at some big programs, but this Arizona State team brings a little bit something different through the scheme, and they want to throw the ball with Levitt and all these guys, but Texas has so many dudes, and this defense is so fast and so physical. I think that Arizona State here, being able to play with house money can't be understated, but they have an uphill climb.
They do. And, how do they choose to attack it? They're going to be Mercedes-Benz Dome. This is the Peach Bowl. It's Southern Flair. I'm not sure how many people from Arizona State are going to travel out here. For Texas, you'd figure that they would. It's not a crazy trip to Atlanta. It's not necessarily crazy either for the Phoenix area, but still, I just don't know what the vibe is. Maybe for Arizona State, they pack it up, right? Because we haven't been this in a while. This is crazy. So maybe that's an advantage on that front. But Tyson, this is Texas. Coming into here, I think I kind of convinced you in our preseason stuff. Like, I don't know about their trenches, right? You lose 2 NFL guys, and I don't know about this. Their running defense has gotten actually better. Like, they're 7th in EPA per rush, and that's helped their passing attack. They're 2nd in EPA per dropback. That's against teams who are throwing on them, right, constantly, because they're up by a lot, and so you figure maybe get some chunk yards here and this and that. But wow. Offensively, though, for Arizona State, 12th in EPA per rush, 15th in EPA per dropback. They've been really good. Now, you play the Big 12. It's not quite the conference it once was in the past. but it's still impressive. It's a Power 4 level. You got some teams who've been able to compete and compete at a high level for a while. And so I think it's been nothing short of impressive what Arizona State's done. Then on the flip side, 9th in EPA per rush, 6th in EPA per dropback for Texas. Defensively for Arizona State, 16th in EPA per rush, 23rd in EPA per dropback. So this is a battle. And I think people are really writing off Arizona State. Like, people have questions. Oh, I don't know if they can hang around. This, to me, feels closer than a lot of people are giving credit for.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel gross for what I'm about to say, but I think Texas is going to their second semifinal in a row here. I think they're going to win this game. I do think it's going to be really close, and I think Arizona State gives them everything they can handle, but there is something to be – like, this is a team that was here a year ago, and I know they lost a bunch of pieces from that team, but the quarterback is back. A lot of the guys, that played key roles are back, and they want to go win a national championship. They got that – they almost had it a year ago.
Yep, I'm with you. I think Texas advances. I think it's going to be close, but Texas is going to go to the semifinal. Next game here, the Rose Bowl, Ohio State and Oregon. This is huge. I mean, this is a classic old Big Ten versus Pac-12 matchup, both in the Big Ten now. Obviously, this is a rematch from earlier in the year when Oregon won at home in the Autzen. Crazy last-second play. Crazy game overall, really. But, Tyson, that was the best Ohio State has looked last week compared to when they played Oregon and they lost. So they found the mojo a little bit. I'm not quite sure. They had the time off. Tennessee was clearly in over their head. I mean, offensively, it was bad. Defensively, they were not prepared, and they just got their teeth kicked in. And Ohio State was a big component for that as they dominated Tennessee. Now, this will be a different challenge. On paper, I'm just going to go through this quick because what are you really gaining from that? So I just want to point this out. Ohio State, 8th in EPA per rush, 3rd in EPA per dropback. Oregon's defense, 13th in EPA per rush, 5th in EPA per dropback. On the flip side, Oregon's offense, 2nd in EPA per rush, 7th in EPA per dropback against a defense that's 3rd in EPA per rush, 3rd in EPA per dropback. So strength on strength across the board. This is really good. Where are we finding cracks? That's where I'm going to throw it to you.
Well, I think both these teams can have cracks, and it comes down to coaching a lot. We pick on Ryan Day all the time, but it could be if Chip Kelly wants to run draw plays and establish it and it's not working. It was like, oh, yeah, you can throw it to Jeremiah Smith during that Tennessee game. It was like, just do this all the time. McBuka's awesome too. This is the way this offense maybe should run at times. And then Oregon can be a little start and go, a little kind of sputtery here and there throughout the season. It doesn't matter when you're beating Purdue by 28 or you're handing Illinois their butt on a silver platter there, and then you look up and you're like, well, they left 14 points on the board, and Oregon can't afford that. But I think they're just too smooth, a little bit too technical. And it also is funny to me, if Oregon plays Tennessee, they probably do the same thing, and then they're coming in here as the favorites. This is a funny line to me, Brad.
It is, and this is interesting. When I'm looking through this, I'm trying to pull up the old game here. See if I can pull that up in the meantime. I think Chip Kelly's probably going to fall into the trap here of trying to run the football because Oregon's really good on the perimeter, and they kind of know that. Although they did put up a ton of points, but Penn State was able to gash Oregon on the ground. And I think that's something when they're looking through the film. Like if they think they're susceptible, like if Ohio State believes that they have the trenches and the guys in the trenches to make it happen, although they're a little bit banged up on the offensive line, that's something to keep in mind. But I think Ohio State, Chip Kelly may completely fall into this trap where it's like, oh, I'm gonna run the football, we're gonna establish it, and we'll throw it on the perimeter, and so that's kind of a scary place to be.
Well, it is funny to sit here and talk about this game as like Chip Kelly could be the linchpin here, as if Oregon didn't lose the same way to Washington multiple times last year. So like it happens for everybody. I'm a huge Dan Lanning guy, and I'm going to give out some Dan Lanning love later on in the show here. But yeah, I mean it's college football, dude. Like sometimes the gods were on Oregon's side the first time, and maybe they just they disagree this time. These teams are like a razor's edge between each other as far as how close they are.
Okay, so I just found it. So listen to this is great. Will Howard, 28 of 35 for 326, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Dylan Gabriel, 23 of 34, 341, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So pretty similar numbers across the board from the QBs. Rushing, Travion Henderson, 10 for 87. Judkins, 11 for 23 and a tud, so it's pretty bottled up. Howard, 9 rushes, 13 yards, and you got sacks included in there. Oregon, 23 rushes for Jordan James for 115 and a tud. Dylan Gabriel, 4 for 32 and a touchdown. So there you go. Can Judkins be involved a little bit more? Travion Henderson, 8.7 yards per carry. Why is he only touching the ball 10 times and carrying it that many times? So that's something to note. Receiving Jeremiah Smith, 9 for 100 and a touchdown. Igbokah, 10 for 93 and a touchdown. Something to point out, Carnell Tate, way more involved now. Only 1 catch for 13 yards. Oregon side of things, 7 catches, 149 and a touchdown for Evan Stewart. Ches Johnson, 7 for 75 and a touchdown. Taryn Ferguson, 4 for 62. So there we go. I mean, those are your guys. Like, your stars were stars. Judkins was quiet. Trayvon Henderson probably didn't touch the ball enough, and we'll see if that's the pattern going forward.
Yeah, it's like an NFL game when you're going through that. I'm thinking about guys that could add to my fantasy teams in the future.
All right, we have picks coming up in money making time. So if you want to know who we're gonna pick, stay tuned for that. But let's close out here. Notre Dame versus.
Whoa! I think we skipped that one. Are we? Neither one of us are. I guess the picks are in the money. Okay.
Yeah, in money making time. Yeah, we'll do a little professional tease here. At least try to. Tyson, we'll have to do it with this one too. Well, I guess not, because that's right. So anyway, now we're all scrambled around. But this is an interesting game here because, in New Orleans, in the Superdome, you would expect Georgia's the fans just ball out and show out, right? Pack the house. Notre Dame, we know they're sidewalk alumni, all that good stuff. But the real thing is Carson Beck, UCL surgery for his torn elbow, declares for the draft. You're going to have Gunnar Stockton take over as the quarterback here. So that's the real question mark. What do we get from Gunnar Stockton? What's this offense going to look like? Kirby had some more time. Mike Bobo had some more time to figure stuff out. And that is really where we got to start with that.
Well, we don't know what we're getting from Georgia. It could be, maybe Gunnar Stockton is the guy. We saw during the Texas game for a little while where it was like, oh, he's going to win this football game for this team. Maybe he does this all the way throughout the playoffs. Or maybe he's a freshman being thrown to the wolves in a game here against Notre Dame. I'm an SEC guy. As an LSU fan, I don't actually care so much about the conference, but does it not feel to you like maybe Notre Dame's the most SEC team in the country this season, the way they built, the way that they play football? So this is a little bit conflicting for all of us Notre Dame haters out there, but they put together a heck of a season here, and Georgia has some huge question marks going into this one.
Yeah, they do. And so it's hard to break down here because I'll give you the advanced stats. Let's look at this. Notre Dame offensively, 3rd in e-paper rush, 30th in e-paper drop back. Georgia's defense, 8th in e-paper rush, 15th in e-paper drop back. Georgia offensively, 4th in e-paper rush, 13th in e-paper drop back. Now, we made fun of Carson Beck. Everybody did. When that thing was rolling, it was really hard to defend. And you kind of saw why people would project him to be number 1 pick, top first-round pick at one point, all that stuff. But when it was bad, it was really bad. So to be 13th is pretty notable. Now, Notre Dame's defense, 9th in e-paper rush, 1st in e-paper drop back. They've been completely dominant since that Northern Illinois game. Now, they had the stinker against USC, and it was like, whoa, they could lose. And that was like kind of shocking. That happens in college football. The last game of the season, these guys already think they're in. You got finals week. It's a bunch of different things going on. But now this is about playing football. We saw what they did to Indiana, and this defense is rolling.
Yeah, they're fast and they present some unique things on the offensive side of the ball too, because they don't quite play the same way every week. I know that, yes, they want to establish a run and they're going to have the same concepts over and over again. But when Riley Leonard comes out and can sling that thing around a little bit, he was off to start the Indiana game. It didn't bite him in the butt. It'll kill him in the game like this if he starts out the way he did there. But if he starts out maybe the way he did against like A&M or somebody like that earlier in the season and is able to just kind of dice this Georgia defense up, which has been susceptible to some of the things that Notre Dame does well, or that it's going to be. It could be a really good game for Marcus Freeman and the boys. Brad, which way are you leaning here?
I'm leaning towards Notre Dame because of the quarterback question mark, Tyson. But I got to say, Georgia's susceptible to the running QB. Like, we've highlighted that. Like, if with the mobile dual threat type of thing, that's just not been something that Georgia's handled well. Nobody's going to say Riley Leonard's Jalen Milroe. But he's serviceable on the ground. And I think if he pushes the ball down the field, like, he can't just do dink and dunk stuff. That Georgia wants you to do that because they're so fast. They rally to the football. That's their specialty. You got to take chances. You got to push the ball down the field. You can't just settle for little dinks and dunks. Like, you have to take chunk plays. And we've seen Georgia's defense. It looks great on paper, right? 4th and stopping the run, 13th and stopping, or 8th and 15th. And we've seen this defense give up points and big plays. I think if Notre Dame is rolling, they're being physical in the trenches. We know they got NFL guys, and Riley Leonard's willing to take risks and move his legs and take shots with his own mobility. I think they're going to be able to put up points here.
Yeah, I do too. I think this one has like sneaky potential to be maybe the highest scoring game of the weekend.
So my picks in money making time, and if you kind of got to lean from that, Tyson staying away from this one. So why don't you predict who you think is going to advance?
The reason I'm staying away from this one, Brad, is because I think Notre Dame's going to win the football game, and that makes me uncomfortable. And so I can't put my actual dollars on it, but I'll give my opinion. I think Notre Dame is just going to be a little bit too physical, do some of the things that Georgia hasn't necessarily handled super well in their games against Texas earlier in the season. I think that they just make fewer mistakes. Win the football game. And if Georgia wins this game by like 35, dude, the discourse is going to be disgusting. So if that happens, I'm okay.
Okay, so we'll see. Now, Tyson mentioned putting his money where his mouth is. That's what we're about to do right now. You know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's money making time.
It's money making time.
Okay, so why don't I just back up here because Tyson's talking about it. I'm going to pick Notre Dame as well. Minus 105 on BetMGM. If you couldn't kind of glean what I was saying before, I think Riley Leonard's the X factor. I think he's going to perform well. He's a veteran quarterback. You kind of worry about some mistakes that kind of pop up, but the ability to run the football, I think, is huge. I think they're going to be able to control this thing on the offensive side. And their defense, people just aren't talking about them enough. Like, they are fast. They have NFL guys. Marcus Freeman has done a really good job here. I think they're going to stifle the backup. Sure, they could have some packages, and Mike Bobo's drawing some different things up. I think Notre Dame wins this football game. They advance. The Georgia thing is done. Give me Notre Dame money line.
So you went to the game that I won't touch. I'll go to the game that you won't touch. Give me Penn State minus 11.5. It hurts to do. We've been on Boise State all year long. We were early to the party on both the Broncos and 𝐿𝐮𝐬𝐿. This whole thing has been a roller coaster ride. It's been really fun. Penn State's got too many Jimmys and Joes, man. It just doesn't really matter. I don't think what Boise State can draw up. This is not your Fiesta Bowl against Oklahoma. This is your Fiesta Bowl against a lot of NFL defensive players. I think that Penn State is peaking right now. And a lot of the guys before the college football playoff that were telling you that Penn State had the easiest draw might have been lying. I think the Nittany Lions just make it look a little easier than everybody else right now.
All right. I like the confidence. I'm hoping it pans out that way. Let's just say that. So my next one here, Tyson, I'm going to stay in this Texas-Arizona State game, but I'm going to go under 51.5. That's minus 112 on FanDuel. It feels like this is going to be a fireworks show. It feels like we're going to get up and down, up and down. But I think it's going to be the opposite. Arizona State's going to run the football. I think they're going to want to control the clock. Texas, if they're hitting right, sure, they have explosives. But Arizona State's going to want to take that away. Make Quinn Ewers throw underneath. Make Quinn Ewers drop it down. Run the football if you're Texas, right? Just worked last week. It's got to work this week. Arizona State's been able to take away explosives. They've been able to stop the run. And if Texas kind of falls into that, okay, we have to be patient. We have to be patient. Don't take risks, Quinn Ewers. This could be just the clock churning, burning, and all of a sudden we're looking up like, oh God, it's 7:14 at half, or it's 10-7 or something like that. We got a ton of time here, so I'm going to go under this number.
What pairs really well with that under, Brad, is Arizona State plus 12.5. I don't have the guts to take them to win the football game, but I think they're going to show up here and keep this thing close. I think that, they've been the most underrated team in the field since this whole bracket came out. It's kind of like who gets the free spot when you have to play Arizona State in the second round. These guys hear that. They heard that going into the Big 12 championship game in the weeks before where they beat everybody by 50. This is a good football team.
And I know everybody out there, all right, who are they picking? Ohio State, Oregon, that's the one that everybody's got their eye on. It pains me to do this, Tyson. I'm taking Ohio State money line, minus 130 on DraftKings. I think they win this game. Now, full disclosure, I said whoever won that game back in the regular season, if they meet in the postseason, I thought it was going to be the Big Ten championship game. The team who lost was going to win the next game. So I'm sticking to my guns on this. This opened as a pick 'em. All the sharp money moved this thing out to Ohio State favor. It's kind of shocking. Like, we both were kind of like, wow, this is crazy. If Ohio State plays like that, I think they're better than Oregon. And that's what you're looking for from Ohio State. If you are an Ohio State backer, if you're a believer in them to win the national championship, that's what a $20 million roster gets you, like that performance. So if they're going to show up that way, which I'm banking on them doing, I think they have confidence. I think they're ready. They're ready to prove the doubters wrong. This is a new season. This is the playoff. Give me Ohio State money line. They win this game.
Before the season, I said that Oregon was going to win the Big Ten championship. I said they were going to go undefeated, and I thought Dan Lanning was going to walk in and be the best coach in the Big Ten right away. You said I was nuts. That was disrespectful to your Lord and Savior, Ryan Day. But give me Dan Lanning and the boys one more time. Oregon plus 110 here on FanDuel. I think the teams are close. I don't think the coaching matchup is. I'm going with Dan Lanning and this Oregon defense to show out. I think that, they're good, dude. And it feels weird that we're giving them a little bit extra ammo because Dan Lanning's Kirby Jr. When it comes to rallying the troops around these things. This game shouldn't even be allowed to be bet on. Everybody's losing.
This game is going to be awesome. I think it's going to be great. Tyson and I go mano a mano. We had to do it. Maybe it comes down the line. We did talk about some bowl game stuff. We got a ton of bets going on as we turn attention to basketball, hockey as well, Tyson. We're pretty much covered on these games, but that doesn't mean it's the only thing we're playing. So where can they find the rest of our picks?
It'll be in the Discord app. Group name, as I said what I said. Link is in the bio. College football, not just the playoffs, but the rest of the bowl season as well. We just did a show on. Go check that out. The NFL, we have Week 18, and then we're into the playoffs there. At college basketball, the NBA. We know nobody's still watching the NBA, but it is happening. We got hockey. Whatever you can think of, it's in there.
And that's why I got to stay subscribed, folks. Like, we just did the bowl games, like Tyson said. Final bowl preview. It's kind of a little bit sad. Tyson's ready for this thing to be done. We've gotten our teeth kicked in a little bit, but that's okay. We're trying to close that thing out strong. So go check that out if you're ready to close the bowl season with us. Like the show, helps us become more discoverable, helps other people find us. We really do appreciate everybody's support out there. Then share it with a friend, share it with an enemy. You guys know the drill by now. If you're returning, if you're new, share it with somebody new. That'd be awesome. So we got a ton of content coming out to close out this year. It's freaking New Year's, man. Like, we'll do our thank yous in a different time, but man, it's been a great ride. So we'll get out of here on that note. Enjoy the college football playoff. We'll be back breaking down everything that we saw. So we'll talk to you guys then. Peace.